it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. It is that time of the month again where I do my monthly body mod Q&A. If you are new to my channel, this is the time of the month where you all can submit your body mod questions to me, whether they are in particular to my body mods or just like body mods as a whole, and I will answer them. Sometimes these questions do repeat, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes I change my thoughts, my ideas, my opinions on certain questions, so it works out. But if you would like to submit a question for June's body mod Q&A, you can leave them in the comments below on this video, or you can follow me over on Instagram and I will put up like the little question block, you know, a few days before I film, and you can ask over there. Color Girl 101 asks, what do you do with jewelry that you have outsized? Is it feasible to clean it and resell it? So in case you don't know, my original stretch size for my lobes was a 00 gauge. I have since gone up to it 1/2 inch gauge, but when I was still at the 00 gauge, I had a ton of jewelry at that size, and so I still have a container of it at that size. So far, I have not gotten rid of it. I have not done anything with it. It is just kind of sitting there collecting dust because I haven't really thought about what I want to do with it or what I should do with it. As for cleaning it and reselling it, I personally wouldn't. That is a personal thing. This is not me saying that you can't do that. This is a personal thing that I personally would not do it. I don't know. Even with cleaning it, the thought behind it is just a little, it makes my stomach turn. I don't know why. I know it's just ears. It's not like the worst place that things could have gone. You clean it and then you resell it. I'm probably not the best person to ask that. I personally would not go about that method. I also don't really know what I'm gonna do with the jewelry that I've outsized. Anyone have any thoughts? We're first question in and I'm already like, I need a little assistance with this one because I just think even after you have cleaned it, even if you've sterilized it, the fact that it was like already in your ear seems kind of gross to me. Thoughts, anyone? Again, not saying that you can't do that. That's just a personal thing for me. Don't take a drink every time I say personal in that last answer because you're already drunk. Amjam asks, how long after getting a piercing should you be cleaning it regularly, twice a day? Until it is healed. Until you are 110% sure that it is healed. You should be cleaning it regularly. Even after it is completely healed, you need to keep up with maintenance for it. Now, this does not mean that you need to be cleaning it as often or as much as you were while it was going through the healing process, but you do need to keep up with its overall health even after it is healed. Keeping up with it regularly through the healing process, and once it is healed, then you can just keep with maintenance. And really the healing process is gonna vary person to person, person to person. Elena asks, I've got 2 nostril piercings and was thinking of matching up on the other side. What are your thoughts on getting 2 nostril piercings at the same time? Is it worth waiting to stay safe? So I have answered this one before. This is a prime example of me answering a question previously, a similar question, having a response then, and then thinking on it, and now having a different response. My previous response was to get one done at a time, let that one heal, then go get the second one. I've kind of changed my thoughts on it now. And I guess the reason why I was like, get one done and then go back for the other one was because that's how my nostril piercings were done. And let me tell you, people like to point out the fact that they are not perfectly aligned. I know they're not perfectly aligned. You don't need to tell me, it's on my face. I already know. And if I could do something different, I would have gotten both nostril piercings done at the same time, just so that they were done by the same piercer, as well as they could be lined up a little bit better. Not saying that they couldn't have been lined up perfectly, you know, do one and then the other. I am currently contemplating getting high nostril piercings. Pretty sure I'm gonna do it because I'm like obsessed with them now. And when I go to get them done, I will get both done at the same time because first of all, the lack of symmetry would really bug me. I am changing my response. I would say go ahead and get both. That way you can kind of make sure that they are already aligned, they're done by the same piercer. You can go ahead and care for 2 at the same time, especially if you know what it'll entail. It sounds like you already do because you already have nostril piercings, so you kind of already know what to expect. So I, as of right now, would get both done. Pat asks, have you ever thought about getting your high nostrils pierced or pierced with a nasalong? I think that would look good on you. Really kind of interested in how my last response mentioned this. I have been thinking about getting my high nostrils done for a while. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I've gone back and forth whether I want double nostrils side by side or if I wanted double nostrils like one above the other. And now I've settled on high nostrils. I really love the look of it, especially if you get like tinier jewelry. You know, it's tiny up here and then a little bit more noticeable down here. here. Absolutely love that. So yes, I am definitely planning to get high nostrils at some point. It's just a matter of when. Maria says, I got my Daith Doth piercing on December 2020. It doesn't hurt or anything, but it has some kind of bump on it. What's causing it, and do you think I'm allergic to surgical steel? I wouldn't assume right off the bat that you're allergic to the jewelry. There could be something irritating it. I know I personally struggled tremendously with getting my Daith Doth piercing to heal. So you say it doesn't hurt. I would look at your aftercare. Are you over cleaning it? Are you under cleaning it? Even though it doesn't hurt, there is a kind of bump. Try and see if there's anything irritating it. If you look at what is currently taking place with your piercing, then I would consider changing it out to something that may not be surgical steel. There may be something in there that you're allergic to, maybe something in there that's irritating your piercing. There are a lot of variables at play, but definitely look at your aftercare first and foremost and make sure that you're not over cleaning, under cleaning, and that nothing is irritating the piercing itself. Katie asks, can you recommend the best way to clean a fresh Daith Doth piercing? So the best thing I'm gonna recommend, and you mentioned in your comment that you don't like how the sprays, the saline sprays feel because they go in your ear. That's gonna be my best recommendation for you, are the sprays. It's just so much easier to do. It's so much easier to maneuver. You just get in there, you spray it. What you can do to make sure that it doesn't go in your ear though is take like either a cotton round, a cotton swab, and just kind of place it in the ear. And then that way when you spray it, it soaks it up and then it won't go into your ear, because I totally understand. It's not a pleasant feeling for that to slide right into your ear. It's not gonna harm you, but it's not pleasant at all. So that would just be my recommendation, is to continue to use the spray, but take something that can block the opening of your ear and soak up any excess. Shannon asks, is sterling silver okay to wear in a fully healed piercing? Absolutely, as long as you're not noticing any kind of irritation or you know that you're not allergic to it, it is perfectly fine to wear. It's not my recommendation for one that is currently healing, but definitely if it is completely 110% healed, go for it. Alexis says, I just got my conch pierced a few weeks ago, and is it possible to go use 16 gauge jewelry in my 14 gauge conch? Will it get smaller since it's cartilage, or will the jewelry flop around at all? It's hard to find 14 gauge jewelry, and I wasn't asked what size I wanted beforehand. So funnily enough, my conch is a 14 gauge, and I definitely agree with you. There aren't as many options for 14 gauge. There are, and I have found plenty of options, especially if I go to my piercer. But if you are searching online, I definitely understand that it's a little limited on that. However, you can absolutely size down. It will not flop around. It will eventually kind of close around the 16 gauge, but because you're pierced at the 14 gauge, that cartilage is gone and it'll just be skin that kind of forms around the new jewelry. Because that's what my mom did. She and I were both pierced with 14 gauge for our conch. She went down to a 16 gauge. I stayed at a 14 and hers was perfectly fine. Verxy99 asks, I'm a guy and recently got my nose pierced. Now, unfortunately, I have quite hairy nostrils, which means I have to trim the hairs down frequently. My question is it okay to trim my nose hair while my piercing is still healing? Excellent question. As someone who doesn't have to deal with that, I don't know. I would imagine the best thing to do, like if it is something that you just can't leave alone while it's healing, I would just use as much caution as possible. I would maybe not trim as much as you usually do. Maybe this will mean that you have to do it more frequently, but I would do everything in my power to just trim as much as you can without getting near the piercing. So if that means you can only do like surface level and not actually get up into the nostril and trim, I don't know how nose trimming works. If I were in your situation, I would just trim as much as I needed, as much as possible, without getting close to the piercing, because I would be terrified to like bump it or even get the trimmer like get caught on it. I would, that hurts. So that would be my course of action, is still trim, but do like the minimum without getting near the piercing. Does that make sense? You might have to do it more often, which I'm sure is gonna be a pain, but for the sake of your piercing and making sure it heals fine, that's what I would do. Good question though. Any other people with hairy nostrils like that have to deal with something like this, have a nose piercing? Drop them in the comments below. Maybe someone can offer some guidance on that. Lisa says, not a real question, more of a thought experience. I've got a double helix. The lower one kept getting bumps and now it's healed crooked. I feel a bit ashamed, but I'm worried about what the piercer might say feel, as I ruined his work. Have you any experience of it, or is it quite common? Definitely don't feel ashamed by it. It's one of those things that happens. You can't really control what your body does. You can control like aftercare and all of that, but sometimes your body's just gonna have this reaction where a bump's gonna form and it's not gonna be the most straight piercing. That's what happened with my double helix. The bottom one is definitely not perfectly straight, and it's no one's fault because it definitely was pierced straight, and unfortunately it was the problem child of the two, and it just didn't heal the straightest. So don't feel ashamed by it. If you're concerned about it, go to your piercer. They see stuff like this all the time. They're not gonna take offense to it. Do not feel ashamed. Your piercer is there for any questions you may have, any concerns you may have. They've pretty much seen it all. Halfner asks, tips and tricks for removing threadless flat back studs. I literally can't get mine off. Really? I have like the easiest time with mine, but one suggestion I always have for removing jewelry or even inserting jewelry, wear gloves, like latex or rubber gloves. Gives you that grip that is so necessary to getting jewelry off or on. It'll change how you see your piercings, I promise, and how you change out jewelry for your piercings, I promise. Use gloves. Gives you that better grip. Casey asks, I would love to know how you budget for and plan large tattoos. I like this question because yeah, tattoos are not cheap. So for me, what I do, and I do this long before I set up an appointment, when I have an idea in my head of what I want to get, I start putting money into my savings account. You know, every few weeks, $20 here, $50 here, whatever I can spare, I start putting it into my savings, and then that way I know it's not in my actual account and I can't spend it. And so then when it comes time, like when I get about halfway to what I think it might cost, usually I overestimate how much it's gonna cost me for a tattoo. Once I get about halfway, that's when I make an appointment, because then it's still gonna be a few weeks or even a few months before I get to that appointment, and that gets me a little bit more time to put that other half in there. Again, I always overestimate how much it's gonna cost. I overestimate by a lot usually. Also keep in mind, you must tip your artist. So you also need to make sure that that is placed into your budget. So that's how I do it. It's kind of simplistic-ish. I start off with getting about half into savings, that way I don't touch it, then make the appointment, then get the other half because there's gonna be a good amount of time before I get to the appointment. And I always overestimate. Instead of just doing like a big chunk here, like let me put $500 in my savings account, I'll do like 20, 50, whatever I can spare for that specific week. Andrea asks, do you wear your nostril piercings in the pool or take it out? What type of ring do you wear if you keep it in? So I don't go to the pool too often, but whenever I do, I always leave my jewelry in. I leave it all in. I will give it a thorough cleaning when I'm done in the pool because I don't want anything lingering on the jewelry, so I will give it a thorough cleaning once I'm done. But when I'm in the pool, I just leave my regular jewelry in. Brandy asks, is it normal for tattoos to feel bumpy after 2 weeks? So it depends on the kind of bumpiness. It could be that it's flaking off, which is perfectly normal. I have a tattoo right now that is pretty new, and it is in that stage where it's like flaky and it looks like it's sloughing off, and it's definitely a bumpy feel to it. So if it's that kind of bumpy, perfectly normal. Beatrice asks, do you think there are no shapes where nose septum piercings would not look nice? I feel like that's so subjective. Like, for me to say, oh, that nose shape won't look good, to someone else it might. So like, I feel like that's very subjective. I have not come across any noses. I also haven't looked at any noses to like really get an understanding of like, ooh, I don't think that would work with that one. I think it's more so placement that's really gonna play a key role, especially with nostril piercings, because sometimes you may find if you have like a longer nostril area, you may find that if it's too high up, you won't be able to wear things like hoops. Studs would be perfectly fine, but it kind of depends on the placement and just the overall shape mixed together. Does that make sense? I also just haven't looked at noses enough to be like, that's not a good one, but that one's fine. That'd be weird if I started analyzing people's noses. Kian asks, would you ever consider doing a body mod tour video where you show all of your body mods and explain them? I've thought about this, like maybe not all of them in general, like piercings, there's really no explanation for them. I just wanted them and they were pretty. Tattoos though, I am planning to do an updated tattoo tour. I haven't done one in ages and it has been highly requested, but I do have another tattoo appointment in July. It's gonna be here on my arm, and I want to wait until that is done and healed before I film an updated video. So an updated tattoo tour video will be coming later this summer, probably in August. So yeah, definitely so. But piercings is kind of hard to be like, this is my rook. I thought it was cool and I got it. Penny asks, what is your favorite piercing that you have? Definitely my septum. Absolutely love my septum above everything else, followed by my philtrum/medusa. Love them. Oh, but if we're talking about ear piercings, absolutely love my conch. It is my baby. Absolutely love my conch more than anything on any of my ears. Yuli asks, doth piercing starter jewelry, ring or labret is best? So you definitely can't get a labret in there, so I'm gonna have to say ring. KR Mex asks, tips for cleaning a forward helix. I do so in the shower, but it's hard not to move it much without making it angry. Totally get that. Mine is like forever angry. Every time I think about getting a second forward helix, it like flares up like, no, bitch. No, I'm an only child. We're not doing that. Cleaning tips for me, just to take a Q-tip, the saline spray for the outer part, actually for both sides, for both the outer part and the inner part, kind of like with that one suggestion of putting a cotton round so that the saline solution doesn't go in your ear. Just spray it really good. If you want to get a Q-tip in there, just lightly go around the piercing because it will irritate it if you are too vigorous with it. And not really many tips about it because it is a temperamental piercing, at least for me. So I feel you on that one. Still asks, not really a question, but I have titanium jewelry in one ear and surgical steel in the other. I've had no issues with the ear with surgical steel in, but many with the other. Am I allergic to titanium? So I did a video recently about titanium, and there are a lot of people that just don't like titanium the way I like it. Like, I did that video because people always ask me, why do I like titanium so much? And I wanted to do a video about it. You can be allergic to titanium, but it is a very, very, very rare thing for someone to actually be allergic to titanium. It could just be a pissed piercing. It's plain and simple. Could be something else irritating it, and it's just an unfortunate coincidence. Maybe your body just doesn't like titanium. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's allergic to it, it just doesn't like it. So there are a lot of variables. That could be why you're having problems with that one specific ear that has the titanium in it. You know, you could be sleeping on it accidentally. You could be accidentally bumping it. You could be messing with it without knowing that you're messing with it. There are a lot of things in it that may not have anything to do with the jewelry. Definitely would not immediately jump to allergic to titanium because it's so rare though. Freak asks, how do you think about extreme body mods? So like things like pointed ears or split tongues or something like that. I think they can be done really well and look really cool. Not for me. Definitely not for me. Pointed ears, I think those are so pretty. Split tongues, absolutely love when they're healed. I've watched many a video of people going through the healing process and I'm like, that's a hell no. So it depends on the extreme body mod. Like those two, absolutely love. The implants under the skin, definitely not a fan of them. It's just not for me, but I'm just not a fan of them. I don't like how they look, but like if you've got them, it's your personal preference. I just really depends on the extreme body mod. And the last question is from Faye. Is it okay to have reoccurring bumps during the 12-month period of healing cartilage piercing? And is it fine to get a small tattoo when like 5 piercings are still healing? So if you keep getting bumps that keep popping up during the healing process, perfectly normal. Again, it's the healing process. I'd be a little bit more concerned if your piercing was healed and it popped up. Now, that's not necessarily saying that just leave it alone or anything like that. Definitely see if you can find the cause of the bumps. It could be an irritation of some kind. It could be the jewelry. It could be something that you're doing, but you're not aware that you're doing. So I would look into it. Definitely don't just like let the bumps happen. See if you can figure out the source of them. As for your second question of, is it fine to get a small tattoo when 5 piercings are healing? First of all, I've got the question of why you have 5 piercings healing at one time. I always recommend 3 or less. It's not good to do 5 because your body can't focus on 1, 2, or 3 areas. It's focusing on 5. So if you've really got 5 piercings that are still healing, I probably wouldn't get the tattoo quite yet. So that is it for May's Body Mod Q&A. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I really enjoy doing these. I hope you all enjoy watching them. If you'd like to participate in June's Body Mod Q&A, leave your questions in the comments below and they may show up in the next one. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know, even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye guys!